Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Hello there, everyone. Matt here with thevirtualinstructor.com, and welcome to Gettin Sketchy Live, the greatest live broadcast in all of YouTube. I'd like to welcome you all tonight from around the world. By looking at the chat box, it looks like everybody is in kind of a frozen state. At least that's what I'm picking up here. And we are too here, actually. It snowed here yesterday, and the kids were out of school. So we're thawing out with you. Like always, I'm joined by Ashley, sitting right over there. How are you doing this evening, Ashley?
I'm doing well, Matt, and I'm feeling pretty frigid, too. I don't feel like talking. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that frigid. Good to see you all. It's been 14 days. I can't believe it. Time's just been flying by. I guess we were on a holiday, spending some time with friends and family, and the time just zipped by, as it always does. When we have times with friends and family, we could always use more. But I'm glad to be back here tonight with my good friend, Matt, and I've seen what he's going to be drawing tonight. I'm excited about it, and I hope you are too.
Well, I wish I was excited about it. I'm nervous about it because I'm looking at the image and all I'm seeing is details. But that reminds me, Ashley reminded me, it's been 14 days since our last Gettin Sketchy episode. That was because we celebrated Thanksgiving here in the United States. So I hope that you had a great Thanksgiving if you are here in the United States. If you're not, I hope that you have found some things to be thankful for. And I know that Thanksgiving is a little bit different in all the different countries around the world, and they're not all at this time of the year, but I'm grateful for you guys, and I hope you're grateful that we're here with you tonight. Yeah, we're going to be working with Pastels tonight, and we'll go through the materials in just a minute, but if you want to take a look at the reference photo that we're working from, or actually download it yourself, you can do so. All you have to do is click on the little icon of my face in the lower left-hand corner. It is the lower left-hand corner. It will take you to the YouTube channel, and there you can look for the community tab. And on the community tab, the top post will have the photo reference and also a link back to this video so you can come right back. Let's see. Oh, I got to talk about the membership program.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to take your drawing and painting skills to the next level, you've got to check out the program we offer over at thevirtualinstructor.com, which includes a ton of courses on a variety of subject matter and media. We also do weekly live classes that are streamed for members, and they're all recorded and stored in our vault, so you can go back and watch any of the live classes we've ever done. And we also do weekly critiques as part of the Members Minute. You can submit your art for critique. And there's also a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers, which includes everything you need to teach. All you have to do is literally walk into your classroom, open up the website, and broadcast it to your students, and then you can sit back and drink coffee. So all of that is included in the membership program. If you want to check out the membership program, you can do so for free for a week. We offer a free 7-day trial. There's a link in the description below. You can check that out. And if you want to check out 3 of our course videos and ebooks for free, and also get put on our mailing list so I can send you tons of free art lessons, there's a link in the description below for that as well, so you can check that out at your leisure. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, which you are, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And for those of you who are watching the recorded version of this, make sure that you leave a comment below if you like the video or if you have anything to add. Also, if you're watching it live right now, there is a chat box. You can ask us questions. You can post comments. If you do have a question or comment that's directed specifically at Ashley or I, we ask that you use the super chat function. Of course, that will help our channel out, but it'll also prominently display your comment or question, and you get to listen to our really terrible cheer on there as well. Is that it? I think that's all.
I think so. You know, it's been 14 days, so we're out of practice, but I think you've hit all the highlights.
Yeah, I think so. All right, guys. I've procrastinated long enough.
You can procrastinate as long as you want. You're still going to have 45 minutes.
You know, if you're new to Gettin Sketchy, what we do is we try to create a drawing inside of 45 minutes. And we also sprinkle in a little bit of instruction. Since it's only 45 minutes, the drawings are pretty sketchy. But you're also joined by 2 sketchy dudes.
But you know, all drawings and paintings have to pass through that first 45 minutes.
They do.
There's a lot of learning to be had. Even if you're more interested in completing finished or larger format artwork. So we can still take what we learned about beginning sketch and apply that to something you might want to work on for a longer duration. So still good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that Sharon Valdez is in Clements.
I saw that.
That's pretty close by there,
Yeah.
Sharon. I don't know if you know that or not, but
We're coming over.
yeah. Well, pretty close by. All right, let's go ahead and switch over. All right, I am going to really try my best, like I always try my best, to push the right buttons tonight. If the timer goes awry because of my mischievous acts, then I know how to fix it.
Right, we discovered that last week.
Discovered it last week. Even though I had coded it myself, I couldn't even remember what I did, but it's a pretty simple thing. So hopefully that won't happen. Here's a look at the reference up there in the corner, and you can see why I'm apprehensive about this one. There's a lot of detail in here, but what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to simplify all that detail down into masses of color and value, and we're going to create the impression of this landscape here. So this is going to be pretty loose. I'm going to be working on PastelMat paper, and the size I have this at is 7 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And you might see a little faint line right there. That's because the first time I measured it at 4 1/4 inches. That doesn't matter, of course, but I'm just pointing that out because we all have problems with maths. We don't all have problems, but I do. Anyway, this is a very light gray toned surface, so it may appear white. Well, it shouldn't because you've got that contrasting white box there.
It's clearly gray.
Yeah, it's a lighter gray. I'm going to be covering pretty much all of the surface, so the surface color doesn't really matter too much. And I'm going to be using Rembrandt pastels here. I've just pulled.
Organized.
I just pulled out. They were organized, but I pulled out the colors that I think I might use. So I just grabbed them all and put them in this. This is the back of a canvas. This is a stretched canvas. You don't want to see the painting on the front.
It's a trompe-l'oeil
In fact,
painting. It's really a trompe-l'oeil painting.
Yeah, this is the painting on the front is a painting I did for the acrylic painting course.
Oh, goodness.
So anyway, it makes a nice pastel tray. And well, we got to stop the show for a minute because Jan has given us a super chat. So we're going to do the cheer here.
Yeah!
Thanks so much for that, Jan. We really appreciate it. And Jan says the best show on all of YouTube, no doubt, smiley face. We really appreciate that, Jan. Thank you so much. All right. I also have some really old new pastels here. Might use these, might not. I just want to show you how old they are. If you look at that price tag, this obviously came out of a price tag gun. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And you have
It
to look
says
real close.
Kmart.
Kmart.
New pastels were at Kmart. That's
In the home improvement section.
how does a store like that ever go out of business when they're selling such high quality art supplies?
I don't know, but New Pastel is now, I think, owned by Prismacolor.
And it says it's made by Eberhard Faber.
Yeah. So
Is that now
I guess
Faber-Castell?
Faber-Castell, maybe.
Wow.
Anyway, these are really old, but they still work. They never expire. So that's what I've got to work with here. And I guess we're ready to start. I'm going to not only focus on shapes of color and value, but I'm also going to be working from the background to the middle ground to the foreground, just like you would in a traditional opaque painting. So let's go ahead and start the timer, and we'll get started. All right, I'm going to start with the sky, and I'm going to start with kind of a little bit of a sky blue color here. And I'm just going to bring this down to where I think the trees should start. So I'm using the side of the pastel, working very quickly and loosely.
I like that you started with no lines.
Oh, there'll be no lines on here. No, well, except for the lines I draw in, which makes no sense at all.
There'll be marks.
There'll be marks.
They're not contours.
Right. And I'm going to go right over the top of where that tree is going to be. we can always go back in and negative paint around it. So we got that in. All right, and I'm going to add a little bit more variety here. So we're going to make the top of the sky just a little bit of a darker blue. Right over the top of this lighter blue. Quickly get some of those marks in. That a quick little blend. And over here, we'll do the same thing. I'm not going to be too worried about matching the colors exactly. I'm going to be really more focused on matching values if possible.
Mm-hmm. So always more important.
Then
I can tell that Jen has shopped at Kmart. She points out that that was a red tag, which usually indicates a sale at Kmart.
Blue light special.
Yeah. Oh, the blue. I forgot
That's
about the blue light special.
Blue light special.
At Kmart, when you see the blue lights, you don't have to run. It's just a sale.
Okay, we're going to go a little bit lighter down here, closer to the horizon line with a lighter blue. That'll give us a little bit of variety here in the sky.
Suzanne says, you guys really love challenges. That in 45 minutes?
Well, we're going to get as much of it as we can in 45 minutes.
Right. Remember, the photographs, the references, they give us information to work with. We don't have to accept all that information. You know, we pick and choose what we feel like is most important to tell the story of this scene.
So I'll only be drawing one tree.
Just a big yellow flower right in the middle.
Right. One tree, one yellow flower. There isn't a fence there. Just a little bit more. All right, let's add some clouds up
But he
there.
says, is it my screen or do you start with a warm blue such as ultramarine? I'm not sure, but I see what you see. I mean, I see it as a warmer blue. And then, of course, Matt added a little purple in there, which warmed it up even more.
Purple.
Did you add purple in there?
And it may look a little purplish.
Okay. I'll take that back. But I see it that way too, buddy.
Add our first little cloud up here. That'd be a little soft up there. And looks like there's a little bit more of it kind of coming down somewhere in here.
There's only one perfect pigment for the blue of our sky, and that's cerulean, but it doesn't always have to be our choice. It doesn't have to be the one that we use. You can use any blue for the sky, even if it's a little warmer. Cerulean's pretty cool.
And the sky changes color. Sometimes the sky is yellow, sometimes it's orange,
True.
Sometimes it's pink. If you've ever seen a tornado, sometimes it's green. Sky seems to get like a dark green.
It does
have those really bad
ominous
storms.
Yeah.
All right, this is not white that I'm adding here. It's actually a very light yellow, believe it or not. And I would prove that to you, but I just ripped the label off.
I can tell.
You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell?
That spot's yellow?
It's a light yellow.
Yeah, I can tell.
All right, now let's go for a base color for our trees back here in the distance. Let's start right here. And this is a base color. We will add some variety to it. Work forward.
Matt, did you pick out every green from your set?
I did not.
Potentially, because there's a lot of variety in the greens here.
Yeah, I definitely could have more variety in what I've chosen, but you got to simplify sometimes. And when you're doing a Gettin Sketchy broadcast, you definitely have to simplify.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll bring this all the way up here, and trees in the foreground, we're going to let those be a little bit broken. We're going to add some branches in between. Again, it doesn't have to be an exact replica, so it's not going to be an exact replica. And we can also go back and do some negative painting there if we need to.
So Matt's
And if
talking
we have
about
time.
using little blue marks on top of the green to show more sky showing peeping through.
It looks like these trees kind of come down at a diagonal. And they kind of turn back and get a little straighter here.
Laura says it's been a while since I caught a live broadcast. Matt doesn't have any band-aids.
That's true.
Yeah.
I haven't been harming myself recently. It's a good thing.
Well, we were on holiday, so safe.
All right. And for just some continuity, I'm going to go ahead and...
So
A
Matt
little
is
bit of
using
green all the way
Rembrandt
in.
pastels right now, and has new pastels. This is for Buddy,
Okay.
but right now he's sticking with the Rembrandt pastels. Do you plan to use the new pastels, or they're just there?
I don't.
Okay.
There's no plan here.
Okay.
And
You know, a lot of folks, I was told, and I don't follow any of these rules when I work with pastel, but I was told when I was young that you start a pastel drawing or painting, if you call it a painting, with new pastels because they're harder. And then as they begin to fill the tooth of your page, you switch to softer pastels because they'll stick to and go over the new pastels after there's less tooth. That may be true, but I've never really stuck with that.
you know, I've always done the
process.
opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I've always started with the softer pastels and then added details and things with the harder pastels over
Because they
top.
stay sharper longer,
Yeah.
like their little edges.
And they're, you know, even though they're harder pastels, they're still pretty soft on the
Yeah,
surface.
they're still pastels, you know, just a little more compressed.
Okay, right now I'm squinting my eyes and I'm looking for shapes of darker value. And I'm using this darker green here to kind of block those in very quickly.
Yeah, I like Matt mentioned that he's squinting. That's a great tip for looking through the texture, looking past the detail to see more clearly values and colors. So it's like looking through your eyelashes.
And now we're going to add a little bit more variety. Go with a different green. Try kind of get these shapes blocked in.
Yeah, Buddy says that she also thought there was an order to pastels, like working from hard to soft. Do people do that with colored pencils, Matt? Do you know? Do people use like the Prismacolor thins or the thin
very
line?
thin.
Yeah, the very thin, and then switch to the traditional.
I would not do that. I would use the very thins over the top of the softer
So,
ones.
so you
There's not really a need for harder or softer with colored pencils.
Okay.
You know, just as long as there's still tooth there.
And of course tonight Matt's working on PastelMat paper. So chances of him filling up the tooth and not being able to make marks are pretty slim, and especially in the time that we have to work.
So it looks like to me that the light source is coming, well, it's kind of directly above, but it's more so from the upper right hand corner.
I see it as coming from the right a little bit.
So that means that the highlights are going to exist on these trees on the right side of the bodies of the trees. Just trying to get some a little bit of variety here. I'm just going ham on this. I'm not looking at the clock or anything.
Well, I think you chose a good medium, you know, for the subject. anyway. And of course, pastel allow you to cover areas so quickly. Don't look at the clock, but I think you're doing great.
I feel like it's been 10 minutes.
It's a pretty good guess.
It's been 10 minutes?
It's been 11.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty good because a lot of times I lose track of, like, lose the concept of time when I'm drawing or painting.
Okay, let's go with slightly different green here. Oh no.
There's some nice comments on your clouds, Matt, how natural they look.
Oh, thanks.
And they just kind of put some marks down and faded them out to the side. They do look like they're emerging out of that sky.
I dropped things on the ground. Let's go a little darker here. Just in a couple areas, I'm gonna have this little bit of kind of a grayish green color.
Matt's getting his fingers in there. I like to smudge pastels with my fingers as well. And I, actually was using a stump today with a little bit of pastel work in the classroom. And if it's really small, like softening edges and stuff, stumps seem to be okay. But if you try to use if you try to use a stump on the PastelMat paper, it may start to remove the stump surface. But I find that a lot of times the stump picks up too much of your pastel. It almost acts like a weakened eraser.
Yeah, I don't like using a blending stump with pastel.
Not with pastel.
All right, just a little bit of black here. Let's see. It's going to be really strong, so we're going to have to
tap that out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Orion Nebula comments as well about the cloud, says they look more real than the ones in the photo. Yeah, I think what is doing it is the way the white part is whitest, where we would imagine the cloud to be most dense. So it's not white uniformly. It feels like atmosphere. It feels like we're sort of looking through parts of the cloud, and then other areas are just a little bit more solid and more dense. Not white because of where the light's coming from, but because of so it has this quality of variable density, I think. Makes it feel real.
All right, going back over with that dark green to make those blacks feel
kind of mixing with your pastel now.
Yeah,
making a sandwich out of the black between green layers.
All right, now let's add some really light value. Just a couple of areas.
Got a yellow green there.
Yeah, so very, very light yellow green. I really need a slightly different green. Let's see if... Oh, yeah. Okay, this is a new pastel. This is slightly different and a little more control. And then I need to add a little bit of burnt umber here. Might seem strange.
No, I see that. I see it in there for sure. Definitely see the red. We were talking about the clouds, and Orion Nebula pointed out that photos can sometimes overexpose clouds, and maybe that contributes to why Matt's smudged out cloud feels just a little more realistic and natural than what we see in the photograph. She points out that it's fun to fix the photo oddity sometimes in a drawing. Excuse me. And that's true. I had a professor that detested us working from photographs because, he believed that photographs don't look like what we see with our own eyes. And to greater and lesser degrees, that's probably always true. Lord Engine points out that photographs can destroy the integrity of an image, and that archaeologists still use hand drawings of artifacts and inscriptions. And years ago, I knew an archaeological artist, and that was her job 6 months out of the year, was drawing fine little pen and ink drawings of pieces of pottery. I mean, sometimes she was just drawing little shards, but they were all drawn. A lot of what she drew was drawn to some scale, either life scale, life just like life, or exactly half scale, or exactly 1/8 of a scale. So she did a lot of measuring of those artifacts when she would draw them, because sometimes it's better to study the drawings than it is the artifact that can be so delicate to handle.
All right.
Neat stuff. That'd be a cool career.
For now, I'm going to move on to the grassy area in front.
Mm-hmm.
A few strokes up over the top of the dark areas. Do a few with pastel here too. Oh, I am going as fast as I can here. Bits of yellow-green in here. It's pretty yellow-green over there. More variety.
Yep.
Really need
hot
other
up there.
really need other greens. Let's try to get in as many as we can here.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit more of, let's see, some browns in here. Looks like we got a nice, cool, dark green right here where the fence
It's
starts.
around the fence, yeah.
All the way over here in these shadows. Darken them up.
So, when I look at those trees in the background, and of course our references, I'm looking at a screen just like you guys are. And the reference is smaller than Matt's drawing on the screen. And the foliage back there almost looks like it could just be made out of little dots, just little dots of texture, maybe over a darker ground. But when you look at Matt's trees, it's nice to see how what he's focused on, what he's pulled out. And of course, he started with sort of a general broad shape. And there are some pretty fresh marks in there. There's some indication of texture. But you can really see he's pulled the forms of the trees out. The texture has happened through mark making, but not like carefully laid down dots, 1,000 little dots.
No,
although it could have been
so many dots,
right? So this is a good example of focusing more on one element of art over another, and the texture is undeniable in this picture, but it's still not, and never is, the most important element of art. Value's most important, and then all the other ones sort of fall between value and texture. Form being one of those, especially when you're working with realistic imagery. And the landscape is that, and even clouds and trees that are full of air still take on a form, especially when they're hit by a directional light. So it looks nice.
There are greens that I need that I don't have. So I'm gonna have to
mix them.
Gonna have to make it work. I need like a straight up Kelly green. And I thought I pulled one out, but I didn't. So I'll have to make this work. Try to get as much variety as possible. I'm still getting these darker shadows and creating that contrast that I need. Let's see here. I'm going as fast as I can here. This will have to work. Really need something lighter.
This image feels so warm and spring-like as we descend into winter.
Yeah, it's definitely not seasonal. At least not for us here.
Some folks may appreciate an image like this. I think that I get a little bit down near the end of winter, but I think some people get a little down at the beginning. Stay that way all the way through.
I hate winter.
Yeah, it's matte.
Short days.
Yeah, that's what I don't like about it.
This is kind of a
start
minty,
too early.
Minty-ish green. Carries all the way over here. I think we're ready to start putting in the tree. Just want to get a little bit more here in the foreground. I keep grabbing that. And that's not what I want. Oh, the greens. Oh, let's try this one.
Hey, Ike's in the chat. Hey, Ike. I saw you today briefly, but I hope you had a great day. And, of course, I'll talk to you here tonight and see you tomorrow. Glad you could make it tonight. I hope you're following along. I'm not sure if you have pastels at home. Of course, if you don't, you can always take some home. And, for the rest of you folks as well, you don't always have to follow along with the same materials that I or Matt use. You may have materials you just don't own or don't prefer to use. So you can always begin a drawing or painting with us here and then continue it after the program is concluded. This could become a watercolor painting, or you could make a black and white value study. I mean, just make an exercise out of the whole thing using charcoal or graphite.
Oh,
We do try to choose media that we think are our guests are likely to have. I'm trying to stay away from some of the fringe media out there, but I take that back. I guess we probably don't do that. We don't
stay away from
we actually
fringe media.
We actually try out the fringe media right here. We've used Posca markers; they're relatively new, so I take that back.
Fringe media. Right. That sounds like we're a news station or something. Not a news. Yeah,
it does.
What people consider news.
Right. Using media in another way. Oh, and fringe in another way. Now I've got a whole story developing in my mind around like art stores and what happens there at night with the art supplies and how they like and don't like each other.
Let's get our tree in here. And again, I'm going to be concentrating on shapes. This green's not exactly the same, but it's going to be fun for our base, I hope. And I'm not going to, put in individual leaves or things. I'm just going to have kind of just masses. So I'm just looking at the areas where I can see something. There.
All right, Ike, I see your message. Have a good dinner, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Yeah, yeah, that would be a great title. Instead of Toy Story, Art Story, and all the supplies come to life when the shopkeeper leaves. I love that. Yeah, Night at the Museum, but for art stores. That's right. That would be so fun.
These are like teeny little leaves on this tree. So I'm going to just simplify it. Just try to get a variety of different greens in here. It looks like they're kind of silvery leaves anyway. Definitely darker on this side.
Mark says in our imaginary story called Art Story, the pencil sharpeners are in a feud with the pencils. Love that. I was trying to figure out, who would rule the roost, who would be in charge at nighttime of the art supplies. Would it be a certain kind of art supplies, or would it be a brand? Like all the Winsor Newton art supplies are sort of upper echelon. They're the higher caste, if you will. I don't know. Now, it's starting to get political in the art story. Bear in the Garden has a really warm comment, Matt. Bear in the Garden says, there are lots of good artists on YouTube, but you two are exceptional because your teaching skills as well as your art skills are exceptional. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
That's a wonderful compliment. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Matt and I
wonderful.
work hard on both of those, and I'm glad that you seem to be getting something from it.
I just hope I'm going to be able to get enough volume in this tree in the time that we have.
Yeah, Tom Clark asks, would you approach the tiny leaves differently if you were working without the time constraints?
With pastel, yeah, a little bit differently, but not incredibly differently. I would definitely be working slower. That is for certain. But I still wouldn't be drawing every single leaf, I would be just thinking about shapes.
Maybe smaller collection of shapes, that kind of a thing.
And I would put more detail into it.
Ultimately, you could go back in and work beyond the shape by doing what you've already mentioned a little bit, kind of negative space painting between, or kind of carving out some of those small leaves from the larger mass using the sky color.
And I'm still probably, given time, probably still going to be doing some negative painting here.
In the story we're writing together, art story, Orion Nebula feels like the graphite pencils should be in charge since they start so many projects. To me, it's starting to take on a sort of an Animal Farm feel, and the pencils are like the pigs in Animal Farm. Kind of a cross between Toy Story and Animal Farm in the art store. The shopkeeper comes in the morning and there's just carnage, there's busted tubes of paint just squeezed out all over the place. There's been a war. Tubes of paint need armor. But he says it's fantastic to see your approach starting with shapes, forms, more colors, and then detail, and putting everything together. And I like the order you put those in, shapes and then forms, and then details later. That sounds good to me.
Okay, let's go ahead and grab the black and start getting really dark in some of these areas, and then add those tree trunks.
Yeah, the 2B pencils can all talk like Shakespeare. And Lisa says the watercolors would probably be just drunk all the time. So yeah, they're outcasts totally.
Why would the watercolors be drunk?
Yeah.
That question was not answered.
I'm going to wait for an answer. So it's I got an answer about the watercolors. It's because they're generally just unmanageable. They're belligerent. I love the way you think about watercolors. Never thought about them like that. They just do whatever they want.
Just kind of true.
Man, it's laying down some serious black.
Yeah.
Serious.
It is serious black.
Good gracious. This goes to show, there's not any rules, just suggestions, because we don't see Matt use a lot of black, though he does with pastels sometimes. I'll bet you're going to hit that with some other colors, too.
Oh, yeah.
Catherine points out it wouldn't be the watercolors, it would be the alcohol markers.
Yeah, very true. All right, this is a dark brown. I'm going over the top of a lot of these dark areas.
Gotta add some life back into those trunks.
There's some really dark areas in the tree, and I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get it all, Some dark shadows.
Lord Engine says Sirius Black would be the name of his punk band. That would be a good band name. I like that. You guys are having great ideas. I'm going to write all these down. I'm going to pitch this.
I'm not sure who you're going to pitch it to.
Oh, I know people. People in the industry. Oh, yeah. And the company that should produce it, this is great. Should not be called Pixar. They should be called Pixel. Start a company called Pixel. Total satire all the way through. Well, the elements of the composition are generally in place now. And Matt still got some time on the clock to decide where he wants to focus on, what he wants to leave alone, and what might
really would
refine.
Like to have darker values in the tree.
Some darker greens in there.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to try to bring in here.
Liz Tangle says, such an amazing drawing, guys. It's shaping up really well. Got a lot of movement in there. A lot of energy. Love that dark shadow that leads us from sort of the middle ground into the background. I think that looks really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Shows the contour. It feels like the contour of a hill. Terry says, I just took a peek at the reference and materials for the new live lesson series. Really looking forward to painting this one. Oh, this is great, Terry. Me too. I'm glad I'll be working through it with you. Got some real problems to solve, or problems in a good way. You know, we've got some decisions to make, some options, and we'll work our way through it together. But he says, great lesson about how dark colors make objects recede and light colors on top push them back into the foreground. Yeah, I like that too. I like with a lot of landscape imagery, I like to lay down dark colors first and then work over it with progressively lighter colors. I think that's a good sort of a good process or order of your steps when you're working with such heavily textured imagery. All that texture creates those little dark shadows between leaves and flowers.
Where's my green? There it is.
Oztangle says the tree is just perfect. I like what you did in there with the light and the browns. That works really well. And you know,
I appreciate those comments.
I know there's some differences, like with the size of the leaves. You know, we talked about that. But your tree has sort of a real southern feel to it to me. You know, I don't know if it's the stroke direction, but I like that.
Maybe it's its southern drawl.
Mm-hmm. It's got a real Louisiana feel to me.
Let's bring a little bit more light right in the tree. A few areas where it maybe feels like branches are coming forward more. I'd like that to be stronger.
Now, the reference for the live lesson series that starts tonight was mentioned. If any of you folks aren't part of the virtual instructor, you can always start a free trial. Is that right, Matt? For like a 7-day trial?
Absolutely.
Today's a great day to start, because as far as at least the live lesson series goes, we're going to start something new tonight. So you're already not behind. And then, of course, there's the 1,000+ videos that aren't live lessons that you can watch and follow along with at any time. So
you can do that with all the recorded
right,
lives.
and the recorded live lessons. So it's every day is a good day to join, but today's an especially good day since we're on the cusp of a new series. Mark points out it makes a great Christmas gift. Yeah, you know, people get a Christmas gift and they wear it or they use it, and before you know it, it's over. But between now and next Christmas, Christmas 2025, there'll still be videos you haven't gotten to. So it really is a gift that keeps giving for years.
You would have to be watching videos constantly for
the
years,
whole year.
For the whole year. Yeah, pretty much, or longer.
Oztangle asks, how do we join that?
The virtual instructor has been around since 2009-ish.
Yeah, good gracious.
And, that's a lot of content that's been added over the years. It's continually being added to.
Charles 0616 says this image has sort of a Monet feel to it, very Monet-ish.
Yeah, I told you guys it was going to be impressionistic. Well, I said we're going to get the impression of it, so of the subject. So I guess that's kind of what to expect there. And I know we've only got 4 minutes left, but I'm going to still add these flowers. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the fence in, but we can definitely add the flowers. Yeah. Fence might actually take a little focus away from the tree here.
Yeah, they may compete. It's true.
I'm going to put a pretty strong highlight on this part of the tree here. just to try to make the light feel a little bit more intense.
Mm-hmm. So we've got some questions about how to join the live lesson, the free trial.
Yeah.
You just go to the website, right?
Yeah, just go to thevirtualinstructor.com. There's a link.
Thevirtualinstructor.com.
There's a link in the description underneath this video.
All right, so it'll take you right there.
And you register an account, and then you're in. Have access to everything we offer.
You get access to everything during that, even during that trial period.
Even during the trial, yeah.
So you can see what you might be interested
all of our
in,
courses,
knowing that you can't get to it during the trial period. You can at least take a look at it, see what you might be interested in.
Yeah,
Lots of courses.
Get everything. Get everything during the trial.
All right, Oztangle is going to give it a go. So
All
we
right,
hope we see you there. And of course, our live lesson, they starts in about 39 minutes, but it's all recorded. So,
all right, a little bit of the darker value here in the foreground. I think I'm going to make some stronger, deliberate indications of some grass here. Then we'll do the flowers. Use some kind of loose, vigorous strokes here.
Fresh strokes down there. Mary Elizabeth is wondering about the flowers. I think she's getting nervous.
Yeah, I'm going to add the flowers. Don't worry. When the timer ends, the drawing has just begun. And we want some more indication of some light filtering through here. So all right, let's add the flowers. Start with the yellow ones. I'm just gonna add some strong marks quickly. I'll let those kind of back here in the distance. They'll intermingle with some of the white marks that I'll add. Or actually light yellow. Hopefully that will help the viewer's eye to move here in the background.
So you're putting some small dark touches in there as well, which contributes to the texture.
All right, so now for the real light yellow.
Some white ones back there. Well, Brent Does Art says, came out great. It's a nice, loose interpretation of this this scene here.
Yeah, I think the thing is with pastels is a lot of people go through these stages of the drawing, the earlier stages that we were in, and then they stop.
Yeah.
And they don't progress. And with pastels, you really have to just keep going and keep adding.
Keep adding and smudging and judging.
And that's why the surface that you work on is really important, because you're working on a surface that doesn't accept multiple layers of applications.
Then you have to stop too soon, right?
Right.
And the problem is your support, your paper, not your skill level or your stick-to-itiveness. So I think maybe more than some other media anyway, your paper selection is a big decision. It's an artistic decision when it comes to working with pastel, because it's going to contribute in some way to the look of your artwork, maybe more than in some other media.
All right, it's telling me the time is up.
It is. I didn't even notice. I was just watching you make those little marks. I was zoned in.
And you know what? I was trying to go so fast tonight that I forgot about the other camera angle. So let's take a look at that from the other angle, because
Let's do that.
That always gives us a better representation of the contrast of color and value.
Yeah, look at it. It feels like I could reach right in there between all that masking tape. What a difference.
Yeah.
I love the color of that camera.
Yeah, this camera does a much better job of capturing the color pretty accurately. Let's see. I want to add just a little bit of burnt umber back here in the background.
Yeah, those little bits of
and just a little bit of it
burnt
here
umber
in the
make
foreground.
a huge difference, just because there's so much green in here.
It's amazing how much just a little bit of that orange color in a green field makes a big difference. And pretty much every landscape that is dominated by green, a little bit of that, I said burnt umber, but it's burnt sienna.
Burnt sienna.
Yeah, that burnt sienna makes such a big difference. It makes it pop. I think has something to do with the fact that it's so close to red with the greens.
Right. It's close to, I mean, I know
that contrast.
it's close to complementary.
All right, nice. Let's take the tape off.
All right, tail of the tape.
So we'll have these nice crisp edges.
I love to see the build up of the pastel up against the tape. It's
until
like
my
half a
pastel
millimeter.
fingers. My pastel fingers are smudging the edges.
Oh, you're gonna have to get that off.
And another thing that's great about pastel matte paper is your tape isn't going to really get it's not going to really get to a point where it tears the paper.
It's just such tough paper.
The paper is so tough. All right, that's it.
Very nice. That looks great.
Third drawing of the season is done. And if I was doing this as a finished drawing, of course I would spend more time in this tree, but I wouldn't spend like so much time that all the leaves were defined. And I think that's important to point out, that you can get a lot of information down just focusing on the shapes of color and value that you see. And, the fence sitting here, there's flowers missing, there's more dark value that we could add right here. But for the most part, we've captured a pretty good idea of the light within the scene and the basic subject of the scene as well.
And once at the end of this this broadcast, unless you're watching the rerun, this painting will never be seen next to the reference again. It's a standalone.
Right.
It's a standalone image, so we can just forget about the reference at this point.
Right.
And decide, do we like the composition as it is, not comparing it to anything? Does it feel like a landscape? Does it feel like space that you could walk through? And it does.
And that's a great thing to point out, because we get so wrapped up in whether it looks like the reference or not. When at some point, especially in a pastel painting or an acrylic painting or oil painting, at some point you use your reference as a starting point, and then at some point your focus needs to turn to the artwork and determining how you can make this a successful piece of artwork.
If we could see all of the famous artwork of the past from like the 17 and 1800s, particularly, I know that this predates photography, but if we could see the models used and the scenes used and the references used once photography was invented in the museum next to the famous works of art, would it change our impression of that art? Because we never do. I think it might for some folks.
Well, I think I agree. I think,
like if we could see a hayfield that Van Gogh looked at when he painted a hayfield,
right,
it would be so different from the hayfield that he looked at.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we love his artwork, or I love his artwork, and I know it's different than what he looked at, not in any different way than Matt's is here, from this reference with all of its sort of hyper detail. So just something to keep in mind when we're looking at artwork and artists that we appreciate, and we never see their references. We don't see theirs, and they don't have to see ours either. Nice.
Just adding
some sky holes in there.
Couple
Lighten up
little,
that tree a little bit.
because I just like that. I like that look. Yeah.
I think it's tricky. I love to see the background color on top of everything.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Yeah. All right. All right. That's it. Let's see here. Yeah. Oztangle says, I don't have PayPal or a card, so I can't join. Unfortunately not. No, you have to have PayPal or you have to have some kind of credit card.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. All right. Let's see. All right. I guess that was it, huh? You've been following those. Okay. Let's go ahead and switch over. Again, concentrating really hard on making sure I push the right buttons, including the one that lowers me down back to this level. Well, thank you guys for watching and sticking around for the whole time, if you did. Remember, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click on the like button if you liked it, and leave a comment, all that good stuff. Ashley, do you have anything else for the folks?
I'm just glad to be back with you folks, and I hope I see you or many of you in the next hour over at the live lesson. And it was fun tonight watching Matt overcome I guess it's the challenge of texture, or what to do with texture in such a short period of time. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah. Next week I'll be drawing or painting, I'm not sure. But I hope you're here to wade through that 45 minutes of craziness with me.
Yeah, it's really the detail. It's really removing the detail.
Yeah.
And you know, the texture is a form of detail.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, just removing that and focusing on value and color, and remembering that value is the more important of the two. PJ Hall, thank you for your super chat there. There's no comment there, but we really appreciate it. And unfortunately, we're not on the screen where we play the little silly screen.
Matt, you can do
something like that. So thank you, PJ. We really appreciate it. And like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, we really do appreciate all of you guys. And, you know, I'm thankful every day that I get to do the things that I do, make videos, you know, work on the website, and provide this, what we provide for you guys. So thank you for joining us this evening. And for those of you who are members and going to be joining us for the next live class, we will see you in 28 minutes. So with that, we're going to go ahead and sign off here. Good night, everybody.